Testing, testing. All right. All right. All right. All right. Sorry.
Brilliant. Very good.
Yeah. So
Very good
Just
morning,
tell
guys.
me when we're for good, Marcel. Okay. So what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I went to Sao Paulo like a few days ago,
All right.
and I bought a pastry from Liberdade, and
Wow.
I finally got a chance to eat half of it,
All right.
and then I saved the other half for Neto. But it had
Okay.
like mangoes.
Isn't
and
that
stuff
cute?
Like
Like, always save
that
the
is
half
great,
for
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah.
It was a lot of control for me, but yeah, and because yesterday we were just making brownies until like 11,
Yeah.
and I told him this is the first time in a long time we're going to bed before 11
I see.
after
yeah,
making
yeah.
brownies. He was like, wow.
That's a bit unusual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's brilliant. So,
All right. Okay. So this is going to be a great opportunity for our students too, for them like to be training their English by
practice,
listening.
yeah,
by
listen,
listening
right?
to you.
Yeah.
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 Brilliant.
The Chat Show, a good conversation.
Welcome to the JET Show, and this is our first JET Show in English, and this is very exciting. With me here today is Teacher Williams,
Hello, everyone. Very good
and
morning.
also Queen, also known as Quyhn-tien, and she's from California, from Orange County.
Hi.
So this is very exciting. So on this beautiful Friday, and I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but I'm sure you're going to be watching this at a certain time. Queen, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited. Yeah, so the average person, when they think of an American person, they think of a blonde girl with the blue eyes.
Yeah.
And then we have this beautiful Asian girl here. And the reason for that is because, I mean, you did mention something about your parents being from...
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my parents were actually Vietnamese refugees. They escaped Vietnam before
Wow.
and everything like that on a boat a little bit bigger than this table, actually.
Wow.
And then they ended up living kind of what they call the American dream
Okay.
in the U.S. and raised me and my sister.
Wow.
And now I'm living in Brazil.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah. And you married a Brazilian.
Yes, I
So-
am married to a Brazilian.
Can I just make a little disclaimer here? I mean, people who are watching us right now, they must be thinking, well, it's the first English episode, right, that we do. And these will be automatically generated. I mean, you have subtitles, right, on YouTube, but in the future, we'll have
Sure.
all the subtitles
In
as well.
Portuguese,
So,
yeah, so-
Okay, so don't worry if you can't understand everything right now, but you will very soon, all right?
And Queen also speaks Portuguese. Ela também fala português.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be testing her on
Yeah.
her Portuguese as well.
Pouquinho, assim.
And she, I mean, we just adore her. She's just awesome. And okay, here, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I was
great.
looking at that camera. Okay, I'm sorry. So guys, so here again is Queen with us. Queen, Brazil. So why Brazil? Let us know.
So I met my husband when we were university students in Las Vegas, and he had a very angry face on. And I thought, this guy doesn't look like a really nice guy and everything like that. But he was actually just really nervous to introduce himself to myself and all of our friends
Okay.
because he had to speak English. It was his first time ever speaking English
Wow.
in the U.S.
Wow. And you were there.
And I was there.
Isn't that something?
And then we just ended up being together for about 5 years
Wow.
apart. And then after COVID and everything that was crazy happening around the world, we
Sure.
decided it's not the best to just be apart for however long. So let's try to see if Brazil works.
Okay.
And now I'm here.
Amen. I mean, I'm sure, if we talk about these 5 years, so much must have happened
Yeah.
during like these 5 years. And so you met Neto. All right. Really cool guy. He's a Palmeirense, by the way, for whoever he's.
Poor Neto.
Yeah.
Must
And
be
he
sad at
loves,
this
I mean,
point.
he's crazy about Palmeiras. And we do have a lot of Palmeirense soccer players studying with us. Yeah. Now, so this, tell us a little bit about you being American, also being from Vietnam, because that's where your parents are from. So I'm sure you speak like 2 languages already, and now you're learning your 3rd language. How was it for your parents to embrace the fact that you were not marrying an American man and you decided to marry a Brazilian man?
So Neto is Brazilian, of course, born and raised in Brazil. He looks very Italian, though. And I told my parents one day when I came home to visit them from college, I said, hey, I'm going out with this Brazilian guy. And my dad looks at me and he's like, what?
Okay.
And they meet him and they they got along really well with him.
So even on the first, like,
Even on the first,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
it was very easy transition for them.
Okay.
Funny enough, Brazilian culture and Vietnamese culture is very similar. I
Wow,
would say.
isn't that so? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love to hear
It
that.
is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
We've got a very big Asian community here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
and,
Yeah, and everything which I love about Brazil is everything is surrounded by the love of your family
Sure.
and supporting your family at the end of the day. And that is how I was raised in Vietnamese culture as
Yeah.
well, respecting your family, loving them, and guiding everyone to the path that they need to get to.
Wow.
kind
Yeah.
of.
Isn't that
It's
something?
great. Yeah. It's great to hear that we share. I mean, common values. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
special values for family. You know, and discipline and all that.
Yeah, of
it's great.
course.
Yeah. Well, by talking to you, I can sense your mom's presence here. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Because I almost feel like she's right here next to me saying, Rod, this is the way I raised this
Yeah.
girl.
She'll be watching this.
Yeah.
So she'll be very proud.
Yeah.
And I love her already because this is the kind of mother I want my wife to be to my daughter, like being loving, but at the same time giving the guidelines.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about this whole clash because, I mean, Asian culture inside America, I'm sure like at home there were certain rules, but outside the door, the country had different rules.
Of course.
How is it to cope with 2 different sets of rules or 3 or 4 different sets of rules?
Right.
So, yeah.
So my family was very strict growing up. Of course, I was a female growing up in the U.S., and my mom and dad were they were engineers as well. So my mom being an engineer growing up or being in a very male-dominated field had a lot of things to say to me. You have to be careful. You have to make sure you're saying the right things, making sure people don't view you differently. And at the house, it was very strict like that. What are you wearing? Why are you wearing that going out? Versus, in school, we had dress codes, right? So we couldn't wear these certain shorts and everything like that. And even with shirts, like if I had a polo shirt, I had to wear a shirt underneath because my mom was
Okay,
very
yeah,
strict.
yeah.
So that was something that really affected, or just kind of I saw a difference in the world, outside world versus my home world.
Especially California.
Of course, it's hot all the time, and I was like, oh, it doesn't
All the
make
beaches
sense.
there and the
Yeah.
beautiful sunset, the sun, everything
course,
about
yeah.
California, yeah.
Yeah, and my mom actually didn't let me wear a bikini at all when I was
Oh,
growing
I
up.
see.
Okay.
No bikini, no painting my nails, no makeup until I was probably 18. So
Wow,
She was
wow.
it was a
strict,
lot
yeah.
different.
Yeah, yeah.
But I ended up really appreciating it. I don't put a lot of don't put a lot of makeup on my face anymore. I don't have to do my nails, and also honestly, it gave me a better connection with my mom. Of course,
Sure,
we fought a
yeah.
lot and clashed a lot.
Sure.
but
Because
we got to-
women would do though. I mean, I find it that
Yeah.
the daughters will fight with your moms more.
Of course,
It's like kind of net. There's like a competition going on because sometimes Gloria is my daughter. She's only like 1 year and 8 months. And sometimes I'm just hugging Vanessa and she'll come around and she'll push Vanessa away. Like she'll say like, no,
she'll be-
Mommy, Daddy is mine. So I can see that happening. But now when you did mention your mom being strict and everything, now when you do your nails or when you put makeup on, isn't it more fun though?
yeah, it's more fun. It's more something that I'm doing, an effort that I'm doing. It's not just like every day that I always do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more enjoyable for me too. And now my mom is like, oh yeah, you should buy this, you should buy that. We have a better relationship. We communicate a lot
Yeah.
more. Because I had to tell her like, oh, of course, I am a part of you. I'm Vietnamese, but I was born and raised in America.
America,
It's
yeah.
different, right? right.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, do you speak to her on a daily basis?
Yes,
today?
so my mom, I actually call my mom every day since I was a very young kid. My mom used to drive basically the distance from here to Sao Paulo every day
Wow.
for work.
Wow.
Or
Hardworking mom.
Here,
Very-
from here to
yeah.
Campinas. I
That's
would
awesome.
Say.
That's awesome.
So she would wake up at 6 a.m., leave, and then come back at 7 p.m., and there would always be dinner on the table for us.
Wow.
So, yeah, she worked really, really hard. But when I got home from school, I had to call her every day from work. I say, hi, Mom, I'm home from school, please. And she's like, practice your piano. And I said, okay. And do your homework. Okay. So, and then we
Here's the agenda, honey.
Yeah.
yeah, and then over time we ended up just having this habit of calling each other every day. So
All right.
I do call her every day, and so does my sister actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so there are two of you.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Is your dad alive?
No, unfortunately,
Yeah.
my dad passed away about 2 years ago.
Oh, so it's very recent.
Yeah.
So now it's just your mom at home.
Mm-hmm.
She must be very busy because she sounds like she's always on the go.
Yeah, she is. We have a dog at home. His name is Toto, and he's a little Shih Tzu. So he keeps her very busy at home.
All right.
And she also works from home, which is very nice now.
Good.
She had to commute a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, she makes dinner still. She eats every meal. She does everything homemade cooking. So it's really nice to see that. But also I miss her food and everything that she has for me on the table.
Oh, I can tell.
Yeah.
She must be an amazing cook. Now, okay, so you're here in Brazil, and of course, when you marry someone, you marry other 40 people that are involved in the marriage process, which is, your husband's dad and mom and brothers and sisters. So how is it that you, how do you relate to all of these people? Coming and, like you said, the Vietnamese culture, people do seem to act a lot like Brazilians, but Brazilians are extremely touchy and we're big huggers and it's even hard for Brazilians to say, okay, from now on, you're going to have to express love by not touching people. So how is that possible? Because we don't know how to do that. So
To keep at least half a meter away from the person
Of
you're talking
course.
to.
So my first time coming to Brazil, Neto told me, hey, just so that you know, when everyone in Brazil greets each other, we kiss each other, if that's okay with you. And when Neto and I first started going out, we never even held hands. It wasn't a concept for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up meeting his family, doing the kiss and everything like that. Me and my mom and my dad. And I can tell you my whole life, I've never seen my parents kiss on the lips. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I'm sure they have.
Of course.
Because I am here.
you wouldn't be here if they hadn't.
But-
Yeah.
But you've never
I have
witnessed
never
it.
witnessed it in my life. I think I've seen my parents hold their hands maybe 10 times in my
Okay.
whole life.
Okay.
So, how
That's the Asian culture,
the
though,
Asian
because
culture, of
Americans will
course.
hold hands. Yeah.
Americans will and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just with my family
Yeah.
and our culture that was
Okay.
growing up, it wasn't really a big thing.
Sure.
But in Brazil, it's so loving and so
Intense.
And how my mom showed me that I know that she loves me is every single time there was a meal on the table, there was something that I liked.
Okay.
Or making sure that the table was always clean, and she cleaned. Even if I dropped to one thing,
Yeah.
she would wipe it for me.
Wow.
So there's a really, really good. I don't know if it's a novel, but I do know you can read it online, like an article,
Yeah.
talking about love languages.
Oh, sure.
And how you
I was about
express
to
your
say
love.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
There are
I've-
different ways of
Of
Yeah.
course,
expressing that.
and
Yeah.
of course, I think Brazil, and a lot of Brazilians are
Sure.
touch,
Yeah.
Sure.
but there's other ways to express
Sure.
love, which I really like to.
So probably your mom's was service.
Yeah, exactly.
Serving others.
Acts
Yeah.
of service
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I
Yeah.
always appreciate that, and I learned that growing
Yeah.
up too. So.
That's a wonderful book. It's a Christian book.
Right.
Yeah. And this is awesome that you brought it up because in case you're watching this, the 5 Love Languages is a book that will teach you how to relate to other people. Because sometimes you're giving someone a present and the person is not showing so much appreciation for the present, but that's because the person doesn't have this love language.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's your love language, and we expect everybody to have our own love languages. In my case, my wife is words of compliment. Yeah, and also acts of service. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with presents. And I'm a big present kind of person because I love to give presents. So I had to learn that. But I'm so glad you brought that up because it's a very, very. We should have it on our YouTube. The link to.
Of course, you should definitely. Everyone should watch it because you give differently and you also receive differently.
Yeah.
So it's really.
So,
really
what would you say the love languages of Netos are?
Netos is definitely either acts of service for how he gives or touch. He
Okay.
always hugs people
Yeah.
and everything like that. So he's very friendly.
Like a true Brazilian.
Yeah, true Brazilian. He's 100% Brazilian. It's amazing. And for how he likes to receive is he likes gifts a lot, even though he doesn't want any gifts. When he receives a gift, he loves it. And then he also prefers touch as well.
Okay.
So definitely that.
Queen, in this country, we have a saying in Portuguese, which is, if you drink of this water, you will not want to drink of any other water in any other place. This is pretty common saying in Portuguese. So you've drunk the Brazilian water because you're here in the culture, and how long have you been here for?
I've been here for about 2 months, a little bit over 2 months.
Yeah.
Very long time.
Yeah. So far, what has been the nicest or a life-changing experience you might have had, like until now, like something that touched you like deeply, like wow, I didn't ever see this coming in my life, and this was really awesome, or just one special moment that you lived here, or if there is one, I don't know.
Yeah, of course. So I am from California, a very big city in California as well, and very close to other big cities in California too. So moving to Águas de Lindóia, I was very worried getting here because it's very small. It's a lot quieter than what I'm used to. And I moved here, and it was going to be Neto and our first apartment together, just the two of us.
Wow.
Actually, in the U.S., we always had apartments with people, or we were staying with people because we were in college.
Sure.
And I was very nervous for that. But when I got there, his sister was so nice, and she set up all these pictures of us from before together all over the wall.
Wow.
And his mom like set up the bed, and it looked like a hotel bed, honestly. And the whole entire apartment the groceries were already shopped for and everything like that. And then there's our house has a beautiful view of the bosque.
Okay.
And it was something that I couldn't have even imagined someone that would do that for me, because of course I would do that for someone as well, but it's so nice when someone does that for me. And the amount of support and the small little things of, congratulations, you got your first interview, or congratulations, you understood how to conjugate this verb properly in Portuguese, those things really, really make you feel appreciated and feel like, hey, even though I might be struggling I might have been struggling yesterday and I couldn't talk to people properly in Portuguese, they are still supporting me in every way possible to make sure that I'm assimilating well and I'm feeling comfortable.
Wow.
I am.
That's very, very nice to hear because that I have my pet peeves about the Brazilian culture, but there are wonderful things about our culture. I guess one of the nicest thing about our culture is the fact that we do care about people. Yeah, we're very people-oriented. So, and it makes me very happy that his family took the time, and they're always encouraging you and supporting you. And not only that, I think that, even when we don't see it, God is working. So you were all worried, look, so I'm going to move in with my husband, and I don't know how, this is going to be like. And then he got there, and it's already, it's like God prepared everything for you guys, saying, you're meant to be here. So it's just like God giving the signs,
Exactly. It was very, very nice.
It's great to hear the good points, because we usually tend to, when you're comparing
Complain.
cultures,
We complain.
we tend
Of
to spot the
course.
negative point of each and every culture. But it's nice to look on the bright side of
Sure.
things and not being over enthusiastic about things, but
Right.
looking at the good things that we can see in other cultures. It's
Someone
great.
asked me a question recently. A Brazilian person asked me a question. If you were to give advice, one piece of advice, what would it be? And I told them, that's a great question to ask me, right? And I told them, wherever you are, August de Lindoia, I lived in Hawaii, I lived in Las Vegas, everything like that. Take advantage of where you are. Don't think of all the negative points, because that will make your whole life miserable. If you say, August de Lindoia has parasailing, that's great. I want to do that one day. Take advantage of that. Don't be like,
We haven't got a shopping mall, but look at it.
They have parasailing, exactly. Oh, okay, they might not have, I miss McDonald's, or something so simple, right?
Sure.
Oh, but they have a fresh butcher shop every day that you can get food. Oh, everything is closed on Sunday. Oh, well, that's okay. You can spend time with your family on Sunday rather than being busy doing something.
And I think that attitude or seeing life like this will make you live longer, or at least happier, because you're just being thankful for what you have. And you know, we're always bombarded. I mean, we've been bombarded so much nowadays with so much negativity. Like, you know, I feel like Facebook and Instagram is always dictating the way we should behave or talk, or the way our bodies should look like, or what we should eat, or just always creating this heavy this heavy consciousness for everyone. Like, you know, I'm not a good person. I'm just gonna be, people would just like me if I have a nice body, or I'm just gonna make money if I read this book, other than just being content with what we have right now. I'm glad you answered.
Being yourself, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's a matter of being yourself. You know, your truth.
Sure. And I guess again, you know, like I cannot imagine how much your mom had to put up with. I'm saying leaving Vietnam and on a little boat, like you said, and going to the new continent. I mean, and we're going through COVID-19 right now, and the average person around where we're talking right now, they're complaining that they can't go to their favorite restaurants or
the beauty parlor, you know.
Yeah, or the beauty parlor, or I can't get my nails done, or I can't do my shopping anymore. And the whole world, and when we think of history, so much that people had to go through to go to the new world. I mean, and it makes me think of my great grandparents. They left Italy on a ship. I don't know how big it was, but they left everyone behind. They left their parents, they left their grandparents, and they came to Brazil, and they had to start from scratch. And I mean, God knows, I mean, how it worked back then when you had to mail a letter, and how long it would take for a letter to get to the other part of the world. And it would take months.
Right.
And nowadays we're so spoiled.
Right. Neto and I noticed, like, we were apart for 5 years. I was living in the U.S. and he was living in Brazil. And our only way of communicating was WhatsApp. But imagine if we didn't have WhatsApp.
Yeah.
This was a normal thing for people
Sure,
a long
yeah,
time ago.
yeah.
And not even so long ago.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, yes, we were apart. And yes, of course, it was unfortunate. And sometimes there were very bad days. But we were very appreciative of the things that we were given and the things that we had to keep us together.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful story, you know, because I actually have a student of mine who met her husband back in the day. I don't know if this happened in America, but you could write a love letter and a magazine would publish it. And if somebody liked the letter that you wrote, this person would get in touch with you, and you guys would start, like, you know, sending letters back and forth.
Writing pal.
Yeah, like, pen paling, I don't know.
Pen paling.
Yeah. So, and they wrote back and forth to each other for about 3 years before they actually met in person.
Wow, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Just communicating through
without knowing the person. I mean, I'm sure like they must have slipped a picture inside the envelope or something, because, you know, I want to know what you look like.
But then again, the time that it would take to get to the person.
Yeah, but I mean, like, listening to your story, I think it's so awesome that you guys were able to keep faithful to each other for 5 years, and you were able to manage this long distance relationship, and now you're here together. I feel great. I mean, it's like you are Natu's award or reward for all the, and vice versa. So it's beautiful. So brings back that it's great to fight for real love,
Right.
and for the right person, because nowadays I feel like my sister used to say that, like, the world's like a meat shop. People just go and kiss whoever, and they just keep trying and to see, and then I hear your story, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. You met this great guy, and vice versa, and they were like, let's invest on each other. Other than just, going around and meeting a lot of people. Oh, how many people are you seeing around? I'm seeing 10 people. What? Because like in my concept and in your, concept too, I mean, I can see your mom here, like, not in her lifetime. This would never happen.
Not in her wildest dreams, yeah.
No, of course. And at the end of the day, there's hard days still today.
Okay, of course.
That's what I go through. And we always say, you know what? It's better because even though there's a hard day, we're still going to sleep, and we're not going to sleep apart. Knowing that the next morning we're going to wake up and it might be another bad day, but we're going to still have a cup of coffee together.
And there'll be good days too. And,
of course.
And you grow together. And I guess one thing that I learned by, going to church so much is that when you are married, it's not about you being happy, but it's about making the other person happy. So it's also about service.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
So when you realize that, okay, her, okay, you have to speak a little closer to the mic.
Sorry.
So when you realize that will definitely prolong your marriage, and we do hope it's until the very end of your lives, because
regardless of the culture, right?
Sure.
It's part and parcel of relationships. So we've got the downs and and ups and downs, and of course it's part of life.
Yeah.
It's great.
And Vanessa and I will have a difficult days, and sometimes people be like, a couple should always talk about their problems before going to bed. I heard this a lot, but I also heard, just sleep on it. Next day's going to be better. I guess Vanessa and I do a lot of that. We just sleep on it, and the next morning is always better. we like that better.
The problems find themselves ways of
because I do have a temper. I do have a temper. So by having a temper, I say, honey, this is not a good time to talk. I'm probably going to say something I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. So right now, why not just put it on the back burner? And then tomorrow we're going to deal with it. And then we just wake up. God gives us a new, fresh day.
Yeah, of course.
Have that fresh coffee in the morning.
And that happens with any relationship, with a sibling, a friend, or anything like that.
Sure.
If you get upset, I've gotten upset with friends and siblings too. And sometimes you handle each one differently, right? So it's different for every relationship.
Yeah, and I guess in your case, Queen, I don't, given the fact that you've always been multicultural, you definitely have to. I mean, it had to be him, because it had to be a Brazilian guy or someone from a different country, because your mind being so expanded, and
especially living in California.
Yeah, very diverse there.
Very diverse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now talking about California, what we know about California, I mean, for the average Brazilian, just the beautiful beaches and those beach houses and was Baywatch recorded?
Yeah.
Hollywood actors and everything.
So tell us about how is life like in California?
Okay, perfect. So everyone sees the beautiful beaches and everything like that. And when you go to the beach in California, so I lived about 15 minutes away from the beach. Not a beach house, but not too far as well. The beaches are very cold.
Wow.
It is so cold in the summer that sometimes I don't even want to go to the beach.
Wow.
And it's very busy, of course, just like any other beach. And it's not as blue as people think it is. But it's very nice still. Of course, living next to the beach is always a blessing and everything like that. But don't imagine when they're walking in the water, they're very warm and everything's fine. It's cold.
It's always cold.
Very
for the
cold.
Do you guys have a problem with sharks as well in California?
We do have sharks sometimes, but it's like, oh, we saw a shark or anything like that. It's not
like in
bad.
Florida or...
No, it's definitely not like that. But yeah, the food is different, right? We have American food, we have Asian food, we have Greek food, we have every type of food imaginable. And I believe that California is one of the best places to live because you can go snowboarding, surfing, and also, go on a hike somewhere, all in the same day.
There's so much to do.
There's a lot to do.
Yeah. Now, Queen, now let's talk about America, because the average Brazilian person wants to experience or live the American dream. And once they go to America, they realize, well, it's not as easy as I thought it would be.
Right.
Okay. So how would you describe the American life, to the people who are watching us right now in general? How would you generalize it?
I would say it's not so different from life in Brazil. You go to work and you need the stuff that you need for your house, you need to pay your bills. The normal day-to-day life is still there. There's things that are easier, I would say, for some people in America, like if you've been to Target or Walmart or any of those things, everything is available for you, rather than going somewhere and then finding that it's closed for lunch. In Brazil, sometimes that might be a little bit more frustrating. But there's a lot of other things that are frustrating about living in the United States as well. People aren't as nice sometimes, and it's exhausting to always be somewhere, especially in California, where it's always going to be busy all the time, no matter where you go.
And that can be a bit shocking for Brazilians. When
Exactly.
people go to America or Europe, people will usually think, well, I'm a tourist, right? They behave as if they were kings and
Of
queens,
course,
and they say, well, I should be
I'm
treated
special.
well, I'm special.
Of
And it's
course.
nothing like that when
It's
you are in a
not.
different culture, right? A different place.
Right, and people don't believe. A lot of people think, "Well, I'm in the U.S. I'm from Brazil. It's safe in the U.S. Compared to Brazil, nothing can happen to me because I'm Brazilian, and in the U.S., it's way
A little
safer.
closer, dear.
It's way safer. Sorry about that.
It's nothing like that, is it?
It's definitely not. Me and Neto went to a club in Las Vegas. First day we got my phone was stolen, and Neto was very upset. It's like, I should know this. I should be better than this. And I said, it happens to everyone anywhere in the world. Don't be afraid of that, so.
Yeah, it's good that you brought it up, because the average Brazilian tends to demonize Brazil and sanctify America, saying everything in America is perfect. Like, once I move to America, all my problems will be solved and all that. And that's not true. I mean, there's something that we do see on TV, and I don't know if you ever heard of the Cracolândia in Brazil. So it's like this place in São Paulo where a lot of crack users or drug users, drug addicts
in the street.
Yeah, they live on the streets, and as a matter of fact, the other day they were showing it on TV. It almost felt like I was watching The Walking Dead, because they started attacking the.
It's a very sad scene.
It's a very sad
It's
scene.
nothing that you-
But I've also watched a movie in which I'm gonna remember the pianist. The pianist.
Yeah.
The pianist. Is that the movie? Yeah, and I don't know if that's the movie that takes place in California. No, it's a movie that shows this guy, and he's a musician. He's very talented, and he goes back to the streets, and it looks like California,
Right.
where there's like a lot of homeless people.
Right. There's a famous street in Los Angeles called Skid Row. Not famous,
Okay.
like, oh, beautiful, but it's famous in the sense that a lot of people just live on the streets in there, and they're not in a good home. They're not in a good place yet in their lives. And of course, people only see that in movies and stuff like that. But in real life, it's quite disheartening, right?
Of course, it is
And-
terrible. Yeah.
When I lived in Hawaii, I rented an apartment, and across the street from my house there was a bunch of homeless tents just around, and people don't see that. When people go to Hawaii, they think beach,
Yeah,
hiking,
perfect, yeah.
but they don't know that Hawaii has a lot of people that are
A lot
just
of poverty,
homeless.
too. Yeah.
It's really bad. So
And
Yeah, we
poverty
usually
is
get
everywhere.
we usually get a bad reputation, especially by the media. Not only
Of
in Brazil
course.
but abroad as well. For violence and everything. But I mean, it's important to bring that up as well. That
Sure.
It's everywhere. I mean, if you look around, you will see.
right, Neto and I went to Rio or Rio to go around and be tourists with my
Okay.
family when they were here one time, and he said, okay, well, you have to put your necklaces in your shirt, and you got to wear your backpack in the front. And none of us thought anything different, because in Vietnam, you have to do the same.
Oh,
There's
right.
no
It's-
difference,
Yeah, it's a
right?
matter of common sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a
Right.
tourist,
And
right? I mean,
metropolitan cities are usually like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Today we were
Exactly.
talking. I mean,
Yeah.
my wife. I mean, she said, "Okay, we are in Paris at one point. You
Right.
know, we were touring on a tour of Europe, and she said, "Well, we are safe in Paris." But I mean, she couldn't be more wrong because
Right.
you know, she got. I mean, there are so many pickpockets, you know, in the streets.
Right.
Sure.
They try to, you know, to grab her purse and
Ta-
everything. She
yeah,
was
talking
amazed.
about Paris.
Yeah.
Well, there was this time I was backpacking through Europe, and I was with some friends, and we were pretty much just sightseeing and just enjoying the view of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people sitting on the lawn, and this guy just stands up and he goes, "Where's my passport? Somebody just stole my passport."
see?
Can you imagine how bad it is when somebody steals your passport?
Right.
Yeah, and how desperate the person must have been.
Yeah.
course.
So that's everywhere in the
It's
world.
everywhere. It's not
Yeah.
just Brazil. And
Yeah.
when people think I don't find it fair. I had I would even admit I had the fear when I was when I was going to Brazil. Is it going to be different? Am I not going to like it? Is it not going? No, it's not. It's not much different. It's,
Sure.
it's the world, right? Of
Yeah.
Sure.
course, there's going to be changes, but it's not going to flip your life upside down.
Yeah.
If you're willing and open to it, then you're going to have a great time. And
Yeah,
that's
and
what
if you
everyone should
plan
know.
well, I mean, where you go and your visits.
Exactly.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Rio?
Of course. So my mom is a very adventurous lady, and she decided, if I'm going to be in Brazil, I'm going to have the full Brazilian experience.
Oh, I see. The works. Yeah.
So we went to Rio.
She didn't do it like a Carmen Miranda. She didn't put the
No,
fruits
she
on.
wasn't on Copacabana just enjoying her life,
But she went full Monte.
she went for it. And so she said, well, I'm in Rio, and if I'm in Rio, I have to see a favela, no matter what. And we're like, oh, but it's not like the safest to go to favela, I would say.
Yeah, and she said, Michael Jackson's been. I mean, he was there, so I should go.
Yeah,
So, you know.
right? So we did all the tourist things, and Neto made friends with our taxi driver, and our taxi driver says, you know what, don't go to the tours, I'm going to take you everywhere. And then so one day, Neto tells the taxi driver, hey, my mother-in-law really wants to go to a favela. So if you could make that happen for us, I would be really grateful. The taxi driver said, I'm going to see what happens around the favela, and I'll tell you tomorrow. Then we go, and the next day he says, I can take you to a favela today, very safe today. So we went, and my dad was terrified, right? Because he's trying to protect myself and his wife. And we go up, and it's not bad. To me, it's not bad. And then we keep on going up, and then I was like, okay, it's getting a little
Sketchy.
questionable, but it's still not bad. It's just like not somewhere that I would choose to live, right?
Okay.
And then we get up a little bit more, and we see these very large guys with guns, right? And they're just standing outside a bar. At this point, my dad also had a temper. So when my dad was scared, he would get very mad and very quiet. And then my mom was like, this is great. This is so beautiful.
She was having a lot of fun, yeah.
And so we go into the...
Look at that machine gun over there.
And granted, my mom doesn't drink alcohol. My mom doesn't do anything, She's a straight shooter. But for some reason, she has to go to a favela.
Yeah.
So we're going, and then she sees, okay, so we're going into the bar. And the bar has the most beautiful view of Copacabana Beach, Leblon, everything of Rio that you want to possibly see. And of course, there's some police guys still there, and there's some people, but we're kind of minding our own business. They're minding theirs. And we have the best empanada de camarão, or pastel de camarão. See? And it was the best pastel my dad ever had. He's like, I want more of that. It's like, well, we can't go to the favela every day, Yeah, and then we have a great time. The taxi driver really was like, okay, yeah, I know this one's safe today, no big deal. And then we have a beautiful view, a nice drink, and then we go back down.
Yeah, but the good thing is you were not on a crazy adventure, man. You
Of
talked to the guy,
course,
we were,
right.
it was
And
a planned visit.
that's the thing about Brazil. People think you can't go to Rio and do that stuff.
Yeah.
And now my mom says, I went to Rio and I went to a favela, And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
she
there-
loved
It's
it.
got a
Yeah,
positive
yeah.
Brazil. That's brilliant.
She sounds
that's
like
what
she's
we need.
empowering herself. Yeah, you know what I've done in Brazil? I've been to a favela. I'm sure you haven't been to one in your life, huh?
Exactly. She's like, tell your friends that. Tell everyone that. And it's like, I'm not going to
Let
tell
the world
people
know what happened to us. And and it's great because she's gonna take that with her. And I'm sure if you guys hadn't gone, your dad wouldn't have tried the pastelzinho, and the whole thing about I think organizing your going to the favela was great too. You were just not okay. Let's just
Like
go
anywhere
somewhere
in the world,
yeah.
right? I mean, you
Right.
wouldn't,
Yeah, sure.
go to Tokyo and go anywhere, without knowing
Of
the place.
course.
Move-
Of
Yeah,
course.
and it's amazing. I mean, we couldn't possibly imagine how organized the structure of these favelas are. Like it's like
course.
it's like they have their own president or
They've got their own system, right?
Yes.
they've got their own system. It's just and by having tourists, I think it's a way for them to bring income too, because
Yeah.
there are shops
Local
there,
businesses,
and
yeah.
so I'm sure the people there were like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was the most cool in a not a very good
Yeah.
word, but
Sure.
it was a very cool experience
Sure.
for me.
And I
And
imagine you went
humbling,
during-
and humbling.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I
Very
imagine you
humbling.
went during the day, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's true.
and the thing is, a lot of people, I know a lot of my friends, people in the U.S., they said, well, Brazil isn't one of my places to go. And I said, but why not? It's beautiful, right? Or, oh, I don't want to go to Vietnam yet because I want to go to Korea, Japan, and everything like that first. Obviously, more first world countries
Sure,
are
yeah.
are more sought after in a sense.
Yeah.
And I said, but all of these, not lesser, but different countries you don't know and don't want to experience is gonna give you something that you would never even imagine.
Exactly.
You put yourself into a different perspective. You put pressure on yourself, and you're gonna succeed. You're gonna see how you manage under pressure, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things you can do for yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And when you go back to your country, I think you'll be much more appreciative of the things you have as well.
Exactly.
There's that as well. Like it's very.
Yeah, like you said in the beginning of the conversation, Quyhn, you did say, I always try to look at the positive side of things. So somebody with your life perspective, when you go to a favela, you're walking and you're meeting these people and you're like, I'm thankful for what I have, other than just looking or finding a spot or spotting something negative and say, oh, poor people. This is a very
Right.
dirty home,
Yeah.
or they don't have roofing, or the water is not piped, or there are no pipes here, or there's no plumbing. So you get the best that you can as a person, and again, with your broad perspective of the world, you get the best that anyone
both
could.
worlds.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Right. And that's why it is so important for people, of course, when it's safer to go out and travel wherever you want to go. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's down the street or to a completely different country.
Quyhn.
And don't believe everything you see on
Right.
TV, right?
Yeah. Sure.
That's the most.
Well, I don't believe TV anymore. I just-
yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad there's a social media, because now we get to know the truth.
Right.
Being a kid, I feel like I was manipulated so much.
Right.
And nowadays we get to choose what we want to watch and
Exactly.
the person we want to
that's the
turn
feeling.
into.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the feeling we have. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Of course.
What's your opinion about, I feel like there is a pressure, although it's changing, that anyone who graduates from high school should go straight to college. I mean, it's just like it's the right thing to do. Like once you finish high school, you have to go to college. Like if you don't go to college right away, it's like you're wasting time. So what's your personal opinion, being like a mature person, being married, being older? Is it okay to have like one or like a Sabbath year, or maybe to travel around the world before, going to a university? So what's your perspective on that?
So I love school. I'm a big nerd, loved school. But I didn't take it too seriously until I actually finished school. I didn't know that I loved school, appreciated the learning until I finished and I got put into the real world, right? And that's when I was in university, that's what I wanted. I want to be out there in the real world, making my own money. And then when I did that, I was like, take me back to school, please. This was so much easier when I was going to school. And I always tell people, appreciate the time you have at school, okay?
But at the time, you didn't have that perspective,
I didn't
right?
have
It wasn't
that
an option, was
perspective,
it?
of course.
Not to go to college.
And that's why a lot of people I know that took a break here, actually, in the US, it's not very common. And it's hard. I would suggest because it's so important to do higher education past university now, especially in the US and other countries, everywhere.
Sure.
It's then if you want to take a break, go for it. Do the full year, do half a year, do whatever you want until you're ready to understand life and appreciate for what it is. You don't have to go to a university. If you want to go to a trade school, do it, but make sure you're passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a more I would say European sort of a habit of taking a gap year, they call it.
Right.
You know, and there's this person called Adam. You know, he's Christine and our friends in England. You know, I mean, he came to Brazil and he stayed in Favela da Rocinha for a year. You know, just talking about Rio.
Exactly.
You know, with a priest. You know, doing community works, you know, community
Missionary
service.
work.
Yeah. And then he went back to England. And then, I mean, his parents asked him, "Are you ready now to start your own business or do something, you know, for college?" He said, "No, I think I would take a trip to Thailand." And then he went to Thailand.
Of course,
off to Thailand.
yeah.
You know, this kind of thing is not imaginable in Brazil.
In Brazil,
Right.
yeah.
Right? It's not part of our culture.
It's
Yeah.
not part of the
You know?
culture.
And economically too, because the money here is
economically
bad.
speaking, yeah, financially
yeah,
speaking,
yeah.
you know, our families can't afford and this. Yeah,
Right,
so-
of course. My cousin, so I have a cousin who graduated from university and then had to apply to medical school because that's how it normally is in the US.
Yeah.
And she decided, you know what, instead of graduating from university and going straight to medical school, I'm going to take a year off and just do something for myself. She did not travel because it was COVID. She actually worked in a very small bakery, just making money for her, like herself, to kind of play around a little bit. And something that's really admirable is she was the first one in our family, really, to start a very tiny, small business.
Wow.
And she thought, oh, I'm going to do lettering for weddings. And it grew into something that now she makes stationery. It's
Wow.
completely
Oh, you
different.
see.
And she
Wow.
It
doesn't,
started small, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole
exactly.
point, yeah.
And she's still on her way to become a doctor and everything like that. But she got a full year to experience something that she won't probably experience again after she has her own professional life.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just got this question here from Paulo Roberto Jr. He says, "Now, which favela has she been to?"
I don't even know the name. Unfortunately, I have to ask my husband. But Paula, I will let someone know to get that back to you because Neto for sure knows. At the time, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I was very tired when I went to Brazil that time. So every single time the taxi driver was driving us somewhere, I took a nap. So I missed half the sights of the city.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be able to mention the favela either.
All right. I just saw myself driving, and sometimes I've been driving, and it's after the second hour of myself driving, I start getting so sleepy.
tired,
yeah,
right?
behind the wheel. So it's just now okay. Queen. So how about we start going through our sketches here in the program?
That would be
Yeah,
fun.
of course.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay, so we're gonna start with our what's in the lunchbox. Marcelo, can you come up with the little thingy? What's in the lunchbox?
Yeah.
The Jet Show. A good.
Yeah, brownies right here. Okay, all right. So Queen, isn't that awesome that your husband gets to call you Queen? You're the queen of my life. Yeah. And your kids would be like, Queen, yes, I'm your queen. Yeah, you listen to mommy. All right. So in this part of the show, what's in the lunchbox? We talk about a book that you must have read, or that you might have read, or you're reading, or a movie you watched, or a TV series, or something that has impacted your life, or is still impacting your life, or a page turner. I don't know. Can you tell us of something that lately or recently impacted you in a very positive way?
I would say I was just talking to Williams
Yeah.
about this yesterday about the movie The King's Speech. It's very
Okay.
old. It's not very old, but
It's been out for like
old-
10 years or so.
Yeah,
Right,
it's-
with Colin Firth.
with
right?
Colin
Yeah,
Firth. And
amazing
if
actor.
anyone gets an opportunity, especially anyone that's thinking about studying English or a different language and is scared, this is the movie to definitely boost your spirits a little bit. Talks about King George, which is Queen Elizabeth's father, and he ascended to the throne. The fact is, he knows English, but he has a stutter.
Yeah.
He can't speak properly, and he gets nervous. And it talks about his journey as someone that's about to be in power and needs confidence, but his speech doesn't have the confidence there yet. It's very inspiring for me as I'm learning Portuguese now. Sometimes I don't know what's the difference between fui and foi, right?
Yeah.
And all
Don't
of
worry,
these
I don't either. So
No,
and so it's different for sure. And I think anyone in Brazil that is, again, studying English, thinking about studying English, or even having problems with Portuguese sometimes, it's something that you should definitely watch.
very
nice.
empowering.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It shows that the whole challenge that you go through, there's always a reward, you know, like there's always the lining, the lighting, the end of the silver lining is always there, right? So there's always a reward for going through a difficult time. You know,
Right.
after the war, there's victory.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There's
I
light
guess,
at the end of the tunnel.
yeah, there you
Right.
go. There's light in the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Will, what
Brilliant.
about you? What is that? What is it that you're reading right now, or something you want to?
Yeah, something that I would mention is Homo Deus. I don't know if you guys have, read the book. Yeah, Homo Deus is a famous book. Now it's a bestseller actually, by Yuval Noah Harari. I mean, he's a PhD. He's a historian. He's got a PhD from Oxford University in England. He's an Israeli writer. And he's been interviewed by all these big guys like
This guy,
Zuckerberg
he's
and
big.
everyone.
He's big in the world. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the book talks about life in the future. So I'll just read something.
It's
here.
really awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. A bit scary at times. But
Will, talk
very
closer
nice.
to the mic.
Okay. So it says here, it's a book written by Israeli author Yuval Noah Harari, professor at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. The book was first published in Hebrew, right? And it sets out to examine possibilities of the future of Homo sapiens. The premise outlines that during the 21st century, humanity is likely to make a significant attempt to gain happiness, immortality, mind that, and godlike powers. It's a bit scary at times, as I said. Throughout the book, Harari openly speculates various ways that this ambition might be realized in the future based on the past and present. So, it's a little bit of history, a little bit of perspective for the future, but it's very enlightening. It's a great book. I would recommend this one. He also has a book called A Brief History of Mankind. Which is a great book as well. But this, for this book, has taken a more historic view, of life.
Those are very current reads in the world right now. Will, right? Everybody's reading those
Absolutely.
books. Yeah.
Yes.
They're best-selling books. Yeah. So wonderful that you guys brought up everything you brought up. In my case, is a journey to self-discovery. It's by Ian Morgan and Suzanne Stabile. I'm not sure. So basically, it's a Christian book, and it talks about you finding out who you are. Sometimes you just have a hard time understanding your behavior. And so it will talk about the perfectionist, the helper, the maker, the romantic, the investigator, the loyal, the enthusiast, and the conqueror. So it's a great book because sometimes you have a hard time being yourself or understanding yourself, I should say. And we want people to be the way we are. That's the truth in life. Because when people are not acting the way we wish they were, we get disappointed and frustrated. Yeah. And we need to understand people are different. They think differently. Everyone's made differently, and everyone's super unique. So, but the authors did narrow down personalities to 9 different personalities. So you do find your number, and then you kind of get to know yourself better. And I guess you become less hard on yourself. You just because we're tough on ourselves sometimes, right? So I guess it's a good read for if you want to understand yourself. If you're working with a team and you want to understand the people around you, I guess knowing and how people operate.
And,
it will make
who you are,
it will make your company more productive, and you will make you more acceptive of people and loving, and just embrace life more, other than try to fight for something that there's no. Sometimes there's not a war that needs to be fought. Sometimes it's just accepting what's going on. So
it's a matter of being more sensitive,
yeah.
right?
Yes, I
towards
guess it's a
people's
good read.
personalities.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna go to our next sketch here, and on this sketch, it's called "What Went Wrong." Marcelo, what went wrong? What went wrong?
What went wrong? Vixe!
What went wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
So Neto always told me that when he speaks English, when it started clicking for him when he said, everyone in English says rah, 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 rah. And I was like, we don't say rah, rah, rah all the time.
But it's funny, students notice that a
Yeah.
lot. They say, I mean, when you speak English, I mean, it's a different musicality. You
Sure.
know,
Right.
like Italians, for example, you can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're singing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, English is very lazy. We're not like Brazilians who take their time when speaking, you know. We don't say every single letter. Don't worry about it. If you skip one letter, most of the time you'll be fine.
Yeah.
The skipping is fine. We'll get the context out of
But
it.
that can be a problem for students, you know, especially
Yeah.
for their listening.
Exactly.
You know, when you swallow up the words, you know, that's, I mean, they
Right.
expect
Where
to hear
did it
5,
go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
where did that sound go? Where did
That's
that
right.
vowel go?
Yeah,
Right.
they expect to find, I mean, to hear 4 words.
Yeah,
and
like
they only hear 3.
studied. They
Yeah.
do studied,
Yeah, what do
Yeah.
you do?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
studied,
They
right?
expect
Studied.
They want
I
the E
wanted
to
you.
be there.
And
I'll
they will
be
say,
like,
I wanted you.
yeah, and I said, just get the E out. Just take it
Yeah.
off. We were too lazy.
Yeah, I was watching this guy teaching people how to pronounce the train stations, the subway stations in London.
Oh man, no, that's a
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
thing. You know, because
It's just like-
even Londoners
Yeah.
have a hard time.
It's
you know,
just like
pronouncing
London.
words.
Yeah, Londoners. They're
Yeah.
like, you know, how do you say this? And the local people will say it wrong, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's
Oh.
I think there's a question there.
Okay, so
So Queen, what went wrong? So you've been in Brazil for 2 months. I'm sure, you know, lost in translation. I'm sure that there must have been a time or a day or an event in which you were trying to carry out a message and you were misunderstood by someone. Let us
Right.
know. We're curious.
So at the wonderful Hofatos in Águas de Lindóia.
the supermarket.
Yeah, the supermarket. I sometimes go by myself. Sometimes I go with Neto's mom. And we go around and stuff like that. And I try to order food, right? Or things I need in the house. And I don't know why. I don't eat a lot of cheese, but Neto really likes cheese, like any other Brazilian, right? And so I just tried to order cheese. And I got something wrong along the way. But in the end of the day, Terezinha actually, or Neto's mom, actually helped me a lot with that. So a few weeks went by and everything, and Neto orders the cheese for me the next time. And then the lady remembers me actually with mask and everything, and she says, she doesn't want to order anymore. And I said, oh no, I'm just busy with other stuff today. And it made me feel actually very good. Like, even though I did something wrong, she didn't take offense to it. She
No.
didn't think I did anything poorly or anything like that. And everyone actually quite likes it when I order because they can see that, I don't know, I guess people at Hofatas are rooting for me to like do better in Portuguese. And I was like, now I have a team
There she
of
comes.
supporters.
Guys, special day. Queen is coming. So do your best today.
Yeah, so it was very cool. So I
Good
really,
for
really
you.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you ordered the wrong cheese.
The
Don't
wrong
have-
cheese.
Yeah.
I don't know what cheese because
Yeah.
again, I'm not a cheese eater. But
Wow. And there are so many kinds.
exactly.
I mean, that's a common mistake. I'd make that mistake.
And
I
I'm
would.
sure someone must have eaten the cheese, right?
Yeah, and they differ. I mean, if you're a big expert on cheese, and you will try different cheese, you know the different kinds. But for an average person, they all just no. I shouldn't say they taste the same, but they do taste the same.
Right, they do
sometimes.
taste the same. And Portuguese is so hard for flexing verbs
Yeah.
or doing anything like that. And sometimes I'm trying to just say one sentence and the verb is flexed 5 different times just
Sure.
in the sentence.
Yeah. We usually say that non-Brazilian speakers of English, I mean, they usually just take the infinitive and they use that for everything.
Yeah.
Like, eu ir à praia amanhã. Eu
Yeah.
ir à praia ontem. So
Right.
but the context will give
But
you
it kind of works, though.
It does.
I like that.
They understand.
Yeah.
And I text people in Portuguese, and Neto always corrects me, and it's exhausting, right? It's like,
Sure, yeah.
I just want to text someone.
And I'll tell you, depending on the verb we use in Portuguese, it's hard for
Right.
us to remember
Yeah,
what
sure.
the correct form is, you know,
Sure.
for the past, for the
Right.
present
Oh,
verb.
and you know, even spelling. I mean, once I've become an English teacher, for me, spelling in Portuguese, you know, just students say, "Teacher, how do you write that in Portuguese?" I say, "I don't know. I'm not your Portuguese teacher. I don't care." I mean, I know this is awful, but
Yeah,
you know,
so that's
because
why
we
it's
forget,
Right.
because if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of.
Sure, yeah.
So,
That's
so
why we
don't
have
don't
the
feel
spell
bad.
checkers on the
Yeah.
computers nowadays.
Right.
Yeah, so don't feel bad. Don't
Yeah.
feel bad. It's just part of the process. And I always tell my students, you know, they're like, well, okay, so tell us about the methodology at JET. I say, well, we're going to start speaking English from day one on.
Yeah.
And they're going to speak sentences all the time. We're going to make the sentences. Am I going to make mistakes? Oh, yeah, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And the reason
and
why,
that's
because
completely
course.
you can only learn by making mistakes. That's life. You're only here today because you've made a lot of mistakes in your life. As a little toddler, you stood up and you fell so many times and you hit your head so many times on the corner of a furniture, a piece of furniture or something. And then you learn, well, I need to kind of keep some distance from, you know, so life will teach you, you know. And so
course.
that applies also when you're learning a second language. So
Right.
embrace mistakes.
Yeah, I was
completely-
asking.
yeah.
So sorry.
No, it's all right.
I was asking students to ask me a question
Sure.
in English, right? And they get all shy.
Sure, yeah.
And then I said something. Okay, if you have problems, just think about it in Portuguese, and if you need help, I'll help you.
Sure.
And even I tried to say something in English or in Portuguese, and then everyone in the classroom, funny enough, corrected me. All of my students corrected me, right? And I said, "See,
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed. You shouldn't be embarrassed
Sure.
either." And then it breaks the ice a little
It
bit,
does,
right?
yeah.
We usually
Oh,
say
there's
that,
this
the classroom-
intimidation, yeah.
We usually say that the classroom is our lab. You
Right.
know, the place for them to make mistakes, for
Yeah.
us to correct, and that's fine.
That's very true, Will, because, I mean, you're like, you know what, we're preparing you for real life. So this is the place to make mistakes, yeah. And also that false knowledge or idea that you will learn a language fast, too. I mean, it doesn't have to be fast, you know. I mean, in your case, you're here, and you're surrounded by people speaking Portuguese to you
Right.
all the time.
Totally immersed.
Right.
Yeah, you're immersed in the culture. But you know, like some people, they're not willing to give themselves like a 3-year time or 4-year time to be good at a language, especially given the fact they're going to be studying that language about 2 or 3 or 4 hours a week.
Right.
Not to mention that it's a lifetime mission, isn't it?
It is.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not something
Yeah.
that you do like for 3 years.
You're
and
not
that's
going to
it.
know every single
You know,
Portuguese
well,
word.
no.
in
Oh,
a
me
month.
If you
myself.
don't use
I mean,
it, you,
yeah.
Right.
your English will get
Yeah,
rusty.
I mean, I'm always watching these TV series, and sometimes they're from Ireland or Scotland. I'm always learning some Scottish expression in English
Right.
or something. It's
It's
awesome.
better. It's better. Like sometimes Brazilian words work better in English if you said, what would that equivalent word be? In
yeah.
Vietnamese, the same.
Okay.
What would that equivalent word be? I said, I don't know the word in English anymore,
Sure.
but I know it in Vietnamese and it sounds better anyway.
Yeah,
So I'm just
sure.
going to tell you and then I'm going to describe what it is,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
And then that's
It's
easy.
just like saying in Portuguese, say, estou com saudade de você.
Sim.
Estou com saudade de você weighs on you way more than I miss you.
Right.
It has this whole sentimental, emotional, romantic
Right.
meaning attached to it. So it's, or just like in Brazil, we say the word capricha. You must have heard the word capricha. Like, in other words, like you go to the ice cream shop and say, "Can you put some more ice cream there?" And I'm not going to pay for it. As
Some
you know,
more
I
toppings,
it
you
just,
know.
just
Chato.
yeah. I just get heavy-handed on my. So, but the capricha in Portuguese is just like, okay, just put extra. I'm not gonna pay, and I'm gonna come back and shop from you again. But if you capricha, because if you don't, you know, so it's one of those things is hard to you know express.
Exactly.
You know, in a different language. So I'm glad you have that understanding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Will? Do you have anything that went wrong?
Not that I can think of. No, I mean, lots of things have been wrong.
Nothing goes wrong.
Nothing goes wrong. in
Life
my
is great. It's a bowl of cherries. Yeah.
Great. Let's look on the bright side
That's
of
my
things.
mom. Life is a bowl of cherries. Peachy, peachy, peachy.
Yeah, not this one, but there's a question here from Paulo Vitor again. Can we do that before we go to
Sure,
the next
of course,
question? Paula is asking, what does she think about the weather here?
Yeah.
It's very cold. Oh my god. Oh man, I don't love wearing pants all the time. I like wearing shorts. Not that I don't wear pants, okay? I wear shorts a lot, right? And when I went to Brazil, I said, it's gonna be warm. It's fine.
Tropical country.
Right. No, Águas de Lindóia is very cold at night. I could not believe it. I'm wearing socks when I'm going to sleep, which never happens for me. So I am not loving that fact, but I am getting used to it.
But it's just the time of year.
It's just the time of year, yeah.
Summertime,
It's going to be very hot.
Stuff as well,
Yeah, of course.
So it's very intense. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think what's hard on your case, in our case here, is the fact that we don't have furnace in the house or we don't have a heating system.
Right.
So that makes it colder.
Right. And in Hawaii, I didn't have either. We actually
okay.
lived in a
Really?
house with no AC
I see.
in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it was very, very warm at sometimes, and I always had a fan on me when I went to sleep. And there was only one cold night in Hawaii of the year. So it was different, but I'm very appreciative, at least that I live near that bosque, that in the summer, I know it's going to help me out a lot. But in the winter right now, it is not helping me any little bit.
But it will pass.
Yeah,
Don't
it
worry
will
about it,
pass.
Yeah, and you know, the good thing about Brazil is that you have that perspective. But for us Brazilians, for me, like, Brazil is a big summer country, and